let's talk about the state of, well, young men specifically in college today. And let me first get started. You might have heard maybe 5, 10 years ago, people would say, oh, if you're going to go to college, make sure you go to college for engineering or to become a doctor or a lawyer or something safe like a teacher, something like that, or something in the sciences. Don't go to school maybe for literature unless you want to be a teacher. Don't go to school and study something like communications or political science because those jobs don't pay well. And even in 2015 we knew that technology was going to change a lot before the AI bubble happened after COVID in 2020. But now we're in 2026, and gosh, uh, there's almost no safe major anymore. Sure, if you can score a 1600, not because you study the most, but because you're, just smart on the right side of your brain, sure, you're safe, maybe, in that avenue. Same with engineering, but a lot of engineering will go away as it gets more technical and they won't need you. Computer science was considered a safe degree. Now look at Claude or OpenAI or chat boxes. Everything's changed. So let's talk about where we're really at among young people, but specifically men. And I'm going to use men as an example, not necessarily females, because, well, DEI still exists. So lucky for all you females out there. But, ooh, if you're a white guy in today's society in America, watch yourself still, because not only do you still have DEI set up, even if Trump's abolished much of DEI, whatever that means, it's still pretty bad among young white people. So take it this way: you're an engineering student, you come into college at 18, or you're a computer science major, you come into college at 18. You probably scored pretty well on the SAT, ACT, probably had close to 4.0 GPA, maybe even a 4.4 GPA. Or wait a second, now it's like 4.6 is the highest GPA you can get in high school. They keep changing it every year, saying, this year somebody can get a 4.7, next year a 4.8. I don't even know where we're at. Are we at a 10.0 GPA now? Okay, you get into college. Great. Freshman year, you know, you want to make friends, but oh gosh, you can't use AI even though it's out there because you'll get caught for plagiarism. So you got to be really careful. You stress yourself out. Maybe you have a beer on a Friday night your freshman year after you got B on a test and you barely survived and you're happy with yourself. And maybe you make some friends. But then before you know it, it's January and recruiters are coming to school and you're trying to land an internship. Well, maybe your freshman year summer, you don't get an internship. Okay? So, you keep your GPA up, you go to clubs, you get involved with things you like. Now, sophomore year, you try to get an internship. Well, you still have to apply to 300 internships. And if you even get one internship in your 4 years in college, you're extremely lucky. If you can get two or three, you're very lucky. Okay, say you don't get an internship. What happens to you? You end up working at Walmart, the same place you worked at 3 years in high school, if Walmart's even hiring, because AI is also hitting Walmart jobs. Maybe you become an Uber driver, DoorDash driver. So now your summer in college, you're spent trying to make money so you can have beer that fall with your friends, or maybe have money to take a girl out on a date who will also leave you after one day to make your life miserable. But anyways, you do all this shit, right? You're a young guy in society, you want to be a functioning adult, and before you know it, you become like a junior or senior. You maybe had one internship, you maybe have one club that you're close with that you've made relationships with, and then you're 22 and you're job searching for a job. In the past, you were able to maybe get an entry level job with a CS degree or an engineering degree or even a teaching job if you went through education, and you'll be able to maybe make 50, 60, 70, 80 grand a year if you're lucky on your 200th application. And you can finally, if your dad and mom are helping you out in college, you can finally live off your own dime and maybe buy a pet. And maybe you did find a girl in college who you dated for 3 years and you decide to get married at 25. That's the best case scenario, right? But most people, they're not going to college. You know, even if they do go to the bars and talk to women, oh, 5'8", not good enough. 6 foot tall, you gotta be. Actually, 6'5", you gotta be. So you don't get a good social atmosphere in college anymore. You might have one or two guy friends you drink a lot of beer with, but then you kind of become an alcoholic or something like that. So you get another bad addiction in your life. Then if your parents aren't helping you out, you come out of school with debt. Even if you have a 4.0 GPA, you might not even have an internship. So what life experience did you get going to college? Because part of college was, okay, you date people, you take people out on dates, you dress nicer than you did in high school. Maybe, you take better care of yourself, you go to the gym, you join a running club. But you almost look at it, you just kind of repeat high school, a little bit more mature, you live alone, you become more independent, you cook more meals on your own. But outside of that, you get to senior year, and then like 80% of people are jobless now, even if you have some engineering degree or AI degree or whatever, away from the liberal arts. So, yeah, and you're probably thinking, well, why are you specifically using the male, not the woman? Because women also are struggling to get jobs. Well, lucky for them, DEI still exists and favors women. It still exists people of color. White men are all evil, right? That's what we've been told. And we still get told that, right? But anyways, that's where we're at. Also, if you're a girl, you can likely meet a guy who has money. That is a fact. There will be some rich guy out there, even if he's not the best guy, even if he's screwing around with 20 women, some guy will be able to take care of you at least. And, you might have a weird relationship, but at least that one rich guy will make sure that you have fuel in your car. What if you're a white guy who did everything right for 22 years of your life and you're still freaking stuck? That's where you're at. And that white guy, he's not having a stable girlfriend or a future wife. He has one friend he can drink a beer with, who he can have an honest conversation with. He can't open up to his parents or family about his struggles. He's literally guiding through life alone. And if he does reach out for help, you know what everyone says to that guy? Apply to 100 internships instead of 90 internships. Oh, don't go up to 10 girls, go up to 50 girls. And at some point you're like, well, I'm just going to stay in a closet and do nothing. I'm not using that as a metaphor for why a guy would become gay. I'm saying, I shouldn't say closet, I should say stay at home. And before you know it, you have a couch potato and your college grad who's $200,000 in debt, unless his parents helped him out. That college graduate's working at McDonald's for 5 years after getting a degree in engineering or artificial intelligence. That's where you're at as a guy right now. And again, if you're a girl, you can probably get a relationship and meet the one lucky guy who did hit the jackpot money-wise. I'm being serious. But if you're a guy, no girl's going to date you working at McDonald's, even if you once went to college and you had a 4.0 GPA. You're fucked. So, yeah, I just thought I would make this video. I'm in college. I talk to a lot of college students. And among young men, I mentioned white men specifically, but I'd say men of all backgrounds, and even some females, but like I said, it's worse for the men. This is a big problem right now in society, so I thought I would make this video.